Hello, Oracles. Well, burnt hair will burn shorts when it comes to Tesla stock. So Gary Black was discussing over on Twitter how this is a brilliant move by Elon. I talked about it a little bit last night, but then, I got to really thinking about it, and Elon is showing how advertising can be done so easily over on Twitter. When it comes to social media platforms, advertising is the way they bring in the most of their revenue. So for them, they need to bring in all this advertising business. Well, Elon now is showing the different versatilities that Twitter can have. He's just went out there and tried to sell a completely random and obscure product of burnt hair cologne / perfume to anyone who wants to buy it. This is coming out of the Boring Company. So you've got a company who bores tunnels and he's selling cologne and perfume from this. So this is just showing how crazy you can get when it comes to Twitter and selling things on Twitter. Granted, obviously it's Elon, he can push a lot of things relatively easily, but showing how something as crazy as this can actually do this well over on the Twitter platform is going to show a lot of financial backers, hey, this could be the real deal. This could be something we actually want to invest in. Elon does want to convert this over to be something more like a WeChat, which is an all-inclusive social app that kind of takes in everything from all over the place. They have this over in China and everyone uses it in their daily lives. This is what Elon is trying to create over here. So to show the different prowess and the different versatility that the platform can have on his own as it is right now, just wait till he takes over and he can actually change things in the future to make it more like WeChat. So this here is going to be his way of enticing more financial backers to come in so that Elon does not have to sell any more shares. And before we get into this, I want to thank you guys all so much. We have hit 20 members here on this channel, and I wanted to congratulate Sophie. You have been a member for the longest. You have been a member for 1 full month so far. Thank you so much. You jumped right on board as soon as I opened up this program, and thank you to everyone else who is a member. If you guys are interested in becoming a member, you can do so in the pinned comment down below. Right now, the number one thing that is holding up Tesla stock from taking off is a lack of answers. We just have a lot of questions right now. We talk about it all the time. The number one thing the market hates the most is uncertainty. Right now, when it comes to Tesla stock, there's a lot of uncertainty. We've got Q3 earnings coming up next week. We know what the production and delivery numbers are, but what are their earnings numbers going to be? There's a lot of information we can get out of there that could actually push us even higher despite the numbers that we gotten for deliveries that were lower than expected. And the real big question for most people are, does Elon have to sell any more shares of Tesla stock? That is really the big question, because if he does, it's honestly not a lot. When we go back to the days where he was selling previously, it's almost like probably like half to 3/4 of one of those days. That feeling, that is what we are going to get out of this. So it's not really going to be a massive day, but it is going to bring the stock down if he does have to sell. So there's a lot of people out there wondering, does he have to sell? So with this burnt hair cologne coming out, perhaps he does not have to sell if he can get enough financial backers behind this, and all the people who are shorting the stock right now, anticipating him selling, will be burned. And of course, this all does have to play out and come to fruition. This is just, in my opinion, what Elon is doing to try and bring this up, because, when Gary Black said it, it brought up a great point, and this does sound like something that he is looking to be doing. So obviously the money that he is raising from the burnt hair is not going to be enough. They've sold 20,000 units so far, which is actually pretty awesome. $2 million, but still, that's only $2 million. That's a drop in the bucket compared to what he actually needs to raise in order to buy Twitter. So it's not like this money is going to be able to buy Twitter for him, but this is what Elon has said over on Twitter. So perhaps, he was alluding to the fact that, everybody buy perfume because this is what's going to help us purchase Twitter. And if that's the case, this again could be going to those financial backers and saying, hey, let's entice these guys to come in here and support us even more, because look at what I can do with this platform and I don't even own it yet. And so there were a lot of people who are asking me, is this real? Is this actually a product? It is. This is a real product. It is a real perfume that is being sold through the Boring Company, and they do accept Dogecoin for payment for it. So if you guys are interested in getting any of this, you can go over to the Boring Company's website and purchase it over there. And I do not know what burnt hair smells like, but my guess is it probably has a musky scent to it. So now switching gears over to the more fundamental piece of things that are going on in the macro environment, we have our CPI information coming out today. That's the Consumer Price Index. This is a number that we look at for inflation. So right now we are looking at a headline expectation number of 8.1%. We came in at 8.3% last month. So we are looking to bring that number down. Still very high. The month-over-month number we are looking at to be coming in at 0.2%. Last month we were at 0.1%. the Fed does want to keep this between 0.1 and 0.2%, so it's honestly not all that bad. The core is really where we are going to be focusing our attention, because when it comes to the core, that is what the Fed says they can control. So the core inflation data is without energy, without food. So these are the things that the Fed feels that they can control themselves, is everything outside of the food and energy. And so those numbers, they're looking at a month-over-month expectation of 0.5%. They want that number to be that 0.1 to 0.2% that we see from the headline number. So this is still a very high number. So the things that the Fed can control are still high. This is why they're looking at a much more hawkish stance, because they feel that the inflation that they can control, they have not been able to control. So they're trying to get this back into line. So again, this is something where Cathie Wood has brought up and said, hey, look, this is going to naturally bring itself into line. We're lagging a little bit behind this here, but as we go forward and we get to the place where all of these other things that you guys can control start getting hit with these interest rates that you have gone up with, because it takes a few months for these interest rates to actually take effect. So when they start taking effect going into the holiday season, when a lot of retailers out there are having a lot of high inventory numbers, this is all going to spiral in the one direction, which is downward, which is what we want. But if the Fed goes too high with interest rates, it could force a deflationary pressure, which is stronger than we want. And so with that 0.5% on a month-over-month basis, that is equating to a 6.5% yearly basis. So we are looking to be coming down. We're definitely coming down in that direction, but not coming down at the speed that we were hoping for. We're getting to the point where last year we had higher inflation numbers as well. So year over year inflation should be coming down naturally based upon the fact that we had high inflation at this time last year. So the month over month data is really something to focus on, because we want to see that trending down. Now, again, when it comes to the headline numbers, the 0.1 to 0.2%, not a huge deal. Definitely would rather see it at the 0.1%. But again, that is still in the range that we are looking at, because on an annualized basis, you want to have that 2 to 3% inflation rate for the entire year. And that is the number that we are looking to get to, and a 0.5 equates to that 6.5, still way too high. And so this CPI data will be coming out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, so focus on that. So by the time you guys see this video, that number will already be out, and we'll see how the stock market reacts to this. Yesterday, the PPI data came in at a 0.1% year over year higher than expectations. Stock market didn't really move much at all. So I think they're really waiting for today's number to see what's coming in, and then getting some other information behind that, because looking at the entire breakdown definitely helps to see where the areas are, if there's just pockets of things that are high in inflation that we're expecting to come down, or if it's a blanket everything high in inflation. So some things to dive into later tonight once we get the actual numbers and data that come out. But again, by the time you guys see this, that data should be out already. And looking at how the stock can be moving based upon the information we get from CPI today, again, the RSI is under 26. That is very oversold. So when it comes to the oversold and overbought, it's just so many more people are selling the stock or shorting the stock and just bringing that price down lower than it really should be. Looking at a 50 is where you want to be in the middle, where it's kind of that is the normal place to be. We're definitely oversold. We need a lot more big buyers and big money to come in to fill this and drive us even higher. I've had the questions of, well, what does oversold mean? Because shouldn't it be like every time somebody sells a share, somebody else is buying that share in return? And it's true, but sometimes, there's this big money that has shifted out of the equities and over into the bond market. So, there's just this swing of stocks that are out there. So it's just the price that people are willing to pay for it is coming lower and lower. That's usually what the oversold means. So yes, for every seller, there is a buyer, but that buyer wants to buy it for less, which is bringing the stock lower than it really should be. And that is just called oversold. That's just the terminology that they use. So we are in this oversold state right now. And based upon the CPI that comes out today, if we come higher, can we pull lower? The answer is yes, we can pull lower. Again, going back to last year when we were overbought in the 90s for over a week, we can certainly pull down lower. That is not something that can't happen. So it definitely can happen. But I really don't know. So I'm kind of anticipating, because considering the entire market is also a bit oversold at the moment, am anticipating that we are going to get maybe a surprise number, or maybe the market has priced in the worst already and we are going to go green today despite whatever number comes out. This is how market manipulation also works, is, they anticipate and say, hey, we're going to bring the stock price down, we're going to bring the entire market down because we know that people are feeling this and they're anticipating that we're going to get a worse than expected number and it's going to pull down further. We're actually going to push the stocks in the other direction. Again, this is why I don't play these numbers, because you never know. But then it's going to come down to, what is the Fed going to do with their stance? Are they going to have a more hawkish stance if we come in a higher than expected number? Or if we come in lower than expected number, is the market going to anticipate maybe a more dovish Fed, and they're going to listen to Cathie Wood's reasoning, and we're going to then come down with our hawkish stance and maybe do a 50 basis point hike in November or a 25 basis point hike? Now, don't forget the FOMC meeting is coming up in 2 weeks on November 1st and November 2nd. So in a very short time, we are going to be getting more answers as to what the Fed is going to be doing with the interest rates. So again, the market does not like uncertainty. Right now, in both the macro environment and the Tesla specific environment, there are a lot of questions that need to get answered. This is why we have such a tentative market right now and a lot more red than green. You know, when you just have the questions, we just need the answers. We will get these answers over the next 2 weeks. And again, we've seen it happen in the past. Even if those answers aren't the answers we want to see, they're still answers. We have the answers, so then we know how we can move the stock market accordingly off of these answers. Without having the answers, people don't put their money in because they're like, we don't know. We don't want to invest in something that we don't know. That's basically the mentality of how this works. So now that they know something, like, all right, I feel comfortable putting my money in now because I know the information and the answers to my questions. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think we are going to come in with CPI data? Of course, by the time you get this, I know the answers will already be out. So if you get the answer wrong, you need to pay attention to what's going on out there. But again, that is my way of helping you guys learn how to do your own due diligence and research. It's actually pretty easy. You can just Google it out there, CPI expectations, CPI information, and I will even put the link to it down in the description down below so you guys can check it out down there for yourself. So again, 8:30 Eastern time, that will be coming out. And also let me know about this burnt hair offering that Elon has going out there from the Boring Company. Do you think this is actually his way of getting other financial backers to come in and support him for the Twitter deal, as Gary Black had mentioned? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat. That link is down in the description. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, we do have a Patreon. That link is also in the description. Thank you so much. Have a great one.